Every certification exam you've ever taken asked you questions. This one tells you stories. You won't be asked what a context window is or to recite a model's specifications. Instead, you'll be handed a production system, a support agent mishandling refunds, a research pipeline losing whole topics, a CI integration hanging mysteriously, and asked one kind of question over and over: what should the architect do? Welcome to Anthropic's Architect Foundations exam, the one that started the whole certification program, and the one you genuinely cannot memorize your way through. And here's the structural gift hiding in its design. The exam is built from 6 published production scenarios, and on your exam day, 4 of them appear, drawn at random, each anchoring roughly 15 questions. Read that again as a strategist, prepare all 6, and you walk in over-prepared by design, because whichever 4 you draw, you've rehearsed them. Master all 6, and you can even afford a weak spot. There's a real chance it never shows up. No other exam in this program hands you its own script in advance. This one does. So this video does the obvious thing, done properly. All 6 scenarios taught as reusable architecture blueprints. Plus the 5 domains and their exact weights, the 8 laws that quietly generate almost every correct answer, the facts candidates miss most, a build-focused study plan, and exam day itself. This is the longest established exam in the program, the one the big free courses cover in 13 hours. Here's the architecture of it in one focused sitting. Let's begin. Chapter 2, Who this exam is for. Anthropic's target, solution architects with at least 6 months of hands-on experience building with Claude and the Anthropic API. But the honest definition is a mindset, not a title. The developer exam asks, can you make it work? This exam asks, should it work that way at all? Every question puts you in the moment after something was built, or while it's being designed, and tests the judgment call. The technical surface is specific, and it's worth naming because it's narrower and deeper than the developer exams. 3 pillars: the Claude Agent SDK, the framework for building agents, loops, subagents, hooks, orchestration. Claude Code, and not as a cameo this time, as a full 20% domain, configuration hierarchies, plan mode automation, and the Model Context Protocol, MCP, as the integration fabric. If the developer exam was about the API, this one is about the ecosystem built on top of it. 3 portraits: a tech lead who spent last quarter deciding between one agent with many tools and a coordinator with specialists, and has scars from both. A platform engineer who rolled Claude Code out to a team and learned the hard way where shared configuration lives. A consultant architect who designs Claude solutions for clients and needs decisions they can defend in a review. If one of those is you, or is the job you want next, this credential was built around your working day. One more reason this particular credential carries weight: it's the program's founding exam, the one running since March, which means it has the deepest bench of certified holders, the most third-party coverage, and the most settled reputation of the 4. When a client or a hiring manager has heard of exactly one Claude certification, it's usually this one. That maturity cuts both ways. More people hold it, and more people can tell whether you earned it. This video exists to make sure you're in the second conversation. Chapter 3, The exam at a glance. 60 questions, 120 minutes, which conveniently means about 30 minutes per scenario block, a natural pacing rhythm we'll use on exam day. Every question is multiple choice with exactly 1 correct answer and 3 distractors. No multiple response on this paper, and write this down, no penalty for guessing, so you answer every single question always. The scoring machine is the program standard, scaled from 100 to 1000, passing at 720, not a percentage, with each domain weighted independently into your final score and reported separately afterwards. The fee is $125 per attempt, proctored through Pearson VUE, online or at a test center, identity verified. 12 months of validity, free on-time renewal, and the familiar retake ladder, 14, 30, 90 days, 4 attempts per rolling year. Registration is the series standard path: Claude Partner Network, Partner Academy, Pearson VUE, all walked in detail in the first video. One version note that matters more for this exam than any other: this is the program's oldest paper, launched in March, and it has already evolved once. Everything in this video is checked against the current published guide, but the standing rule is doubled here. Download the current official exam guide before you book. It's free, it's short, and for a scenario-based exam, it is literally the script. Chapter 4, 5 Domains, 6 Costumes. The blueprint has 5 weighted domains, and here they are heaviest first. Agentic Architecture and Orchestration, 27%, the crown. Then 2 20% domains, Claude Code Configuration and Workflows and Prompt Engineering and Structured Output. Tool Design and MCP Integration, 18, and Context Management and Reliability, 15. Now the mental model that makes this exam make sense. The scenarios are costumes, the domains are the actors underneath. The support agent scenario is really agentic architecture, tool design, and context management wearing a headset. The research system is the same actors in a lab coat. The CI scenario is Claude Code and prompt engineering wearing overalls. Learn the 5 actors well, and you'll recognize them instantly, whatever they're wearing, which is exactly what answering 15 consecutive questions inside one narrative demands. And notice what the weights reward. Agentic architecture alone outweighs the bottom domain almost 2 to 1, and Claude Code, the 3% cameo of the developer exam, is a full 1/5 of this one. If you came here straight from the developer video, welcome. Half your preparation transfers, and the other half, the Agent SDK's orchestration model and Claude Code's configuration system, is precisely where this video will spend its energy. One practical use of that model before we move: the scenario to domain map doubles as a coverage checker for your revision. The support agent and the research system are your agentic architecture workhorses. If the crown domain is weak, drill those too. Both Claude Code scenarios, code generation, and the CI pipeline carry the 20% configuration domain between them. Extraction and CI share prompt engineering, support, research, and extraction share context management. Revise by scenario and the domains get covered twice over, from different angles, which is precisely how the exam will test them. Chapter 5, From Developer to Architect, a short bridge for everyone arriving from the previous video and a preview of the climb for everyone else. The honest comparison: about half your developer preparation transfers directly. The API mechanics, the tool use loop, caching and batch economics, injection defenses, the 4 distractor species, all of it reappears here, assumed rather than taught. What's genuinely new is altitude, 3 additions. The Agent SDK's orchestration model, coordinators, subagents, hooks, the machinery of systems made of agents rather than single agents. Claude Code as a configured team platform rather than a personal tool, hierarchies, rules, automation. And the architect's question style: every problem arrives inside a running system with history, stakeholders, and constraints, and the answer is a judgment, defensible in a design review, not just a working call. So the transfer advice, both directions. Coming from developer, skim what you know, then live in the research scenario and the Claude Code scenarios, because that's where your gaps are. Starting fresh here, this video stands alone, but the developer video's API chapters are the assumed floor, and 30 minutes there will repay themselves. Either way, the destination is the same: 5 actors, 6 costumes, 8 laws. Let's meet the laws. Chapter 6, The 8 Laws. In the earlier videos we hunted distractor species. This exam deserves the upgrade: 8 recurring principles that quietly generate almost every correct answer on the paper. Internalize them and you'll often know the right choice before you've finished reading the options. Here they come, rapid fire, and then we'll watch them work in all 6 scenarios. Law 1, simplest effective solution first. If a prompt level fix is on offer and hasn't been tried, it beats the architectural rebuild every time. Law 2, programmatic enforcement for critical paths. Refunds, deletions, compliance, enforce with hooks and code level gates, never with prompt instructions alone, because instructions have a failure rate and code doesn't. Law 3, tool descriptions are the #1 lever. When tools get miselected, fix the descriptions before you reach for examples, classifiers, or restructuring. Law 4, a few concrete examples beat a page of instructions whenever output is inconsistent. Law 5, independent review beats self-review. The same reasoning that produced an error will happily rationalize it. A second instance with fresh context and a reviewer's brief catches what the author cannot. Law 6, escalate to humans on policy gaps, not on difficulty. Hard cases with clear rules get handled. Cases the rules never anticipated get escalated. Law 7, degrade gracefully, transparently. When a tool fails, continue, annotate what's missing, surface the gap, never fail silently, and never kill the whole pipeline. Law 8, scope tools to roles. Each agent gets the few tools its job needs, and nothing else. Notice what these 8 share: restraint, enforcement where it counts, and honesty about failure. That's the examiner's model of a good architect, and honestly, it's a decent model of one. From here on, whenever a law fires in a scenario, I'll name its number, so by the end there'll be reflexes. Costume 1 coming up. One quick demonstration of the machinery before the costumes. A generic exam stem, an agent misbehaves, the options are a sterner prompt, an architectural rebuild, a targeted fix at the component responsible, and doing nothing. Watch the law's vote. Law 1 strikes the rebuild unless simpler fixes were tried. The sterner prompt loses to Law 2 the moment anything critical is at stake, or to Law 3 if tools are involved. Doing nothing fails Law 7's honesty. The targeted fix at the responsible component survives. 4 options, 3 eliminations, no scenario knowledge required. That's the power tool. Now let's use it on real settings. Chapter 7, Scenario 1, the Customer Support Resolution Agent. The setting the exam gives you: an agent built on the Claude Agent SDK handling high ambiguity requests, returns, billing disputes, the messy human end of commerce, with tools for looking up orders, issuing refunds, and escalating to people. 3 domains wear this costume: Agentic Architecture, Tool Design, and Context Management. It's the most complete scenario of the 6, which is why we start here. First pressure point: when does the agent hand off to a human? The exam is surgical about this, and Law 6 is the answer key. 3 valid triggers: the customer explicitly asks for a human, the situation hits a policy gap, a case the rules never anticipated, or the agent genuinely cannot make progress. And 2 seductive wrong triggers it wants you to reject: customer frustration, because sentiment is not a reliable signal, and the model's own self-reported confidence, because a model grading its own certainty is not a control system. Complex but covered by policy, the agent handles it. Simple but outside policy, escalate, difficulty is not the axis, coverage is. Second pressure point: a long, winding conversation, and somewhere in turn 3 the customer stated an order number and a refund amount. Progressive summarization, the default memory-saving move, will quietly corrupt exactly those details. Amounts become roughly, dates become recently, order numbers vanish. The pattern the exam rewards: extract transactional specifics into a persistent case facts block and include it verbatim, unsummarized in every prompt. Summarize the chatter, never the facts, and for the refund itself, Law 2. The rule that a refund requires a verified order lookup first is enforced with a hook, programmatically, not with a polite sentence in the system prompt. The exam lens: the support agent occasionally issues refunds without verifying the order first. 4 options: strengthen the system prompt with capital letters, add a hook that blocks the refund tool unless a verified lookup happened this session, fine-tune the model on correct sequences, or remove the refund tool entirely. You already know, the prompt fix is Law 2's named failure. The fine-tune is our old friend the overbuild, removing the tool is the extremist. The hook enforces the invariant in code where enforcement is guaranteed. 1 scenario in, and the laws are already paying rent. 1 more lens, because this scenario anchors the crown domain. The team wants the agent to escalate whenever the customer seems angry. Options: implement sentiment-triggered escalation, escalate only on explicit request, policy gaps, or lack of progress, escalate every refund case, or never escalate to keep resolution rates high. You know the triggers by now, and the exam knows the temptations. Sentiment feels humane and measures nothing reliable. Escalate everything drowns the humans. Never escalate is the extremist wearing a metrics badge. The 3-trigger rule isn't just the scoring answer, it's the design that actually respects both the customer and the queue. Chapter 8, Scenario 2, Code Generation with Claude Code. The setting: your team uses Claude Code daily, generation, refactoring, debugging, documentation, and you're the one configuring it so the whole team benefits. This costume is worn by the Claude Code domain with context management assisting, and its heart is a hierarchy most users never learn, where configuration lives. 3 levels, and the exam loves the boundaries between them. User level, your personal memory file in your home directory, on your machine only, invisible to teammates. Project level, the memory file inside the repository, version controlled, shared through Git, which is exactly where team standards belong. And directory level, files that apply only beneath their own path. The classic trap question, a new engineer joins and Claude Code ignores the team's conventions. Why? Because someone put team standards in their personal user-level file. New team members receive what's in Git, nothing else. Say it once and it's obvious, the exam bets you've never said it. Second theme, knowing the machinery's modes. Plan mode for anything multi-file, architectural, or exploratory, where the approach deserves review before execution. Direct execution for clear single-file tasks. / commands for the operations a team repeats. Path-scoped rules with glob patterns when a convention, say, how tests are written, must apply across the whole codebase, which a directory-bound file cannot do. The pattern underneath all of it, standing knowledge configured once at the right level, not retyped per session, the same instinct as the associate videos projects, now wearing an engineer's tool belt. The exam lens, your team's test naming convention must apply in every package of a large monorepo. Options, put it in each engineer's user-level file, put it in one directory-level file at the repository roots test folder, define a path-scoped rule with a glob pattern covering all test files, or paste the convention into every session's first prompt. The user-level answer fails the new hire test. The single directory file only governs its own subtree. The per-session paste is the anti-pattern this whole domain exists to kill. The glob-scoped rule applies everywhere, versioned, shared. That's the shape of every configuration question on this paper, which level and who inherits it. Chapter 9, Scenario 3, the multi-agent research system, and if the exam has a favorite scenario, it's this one, because it sits dead center of the 27% domain. The setting, a coordinator agent receives research queries, decomposes them, and delegates to specialist subagents that search, read, and summarize hub and spoke. Now the single most missed fact on the entire exam, the one the guides flag in bold, subagents share nothing. No memory, no conversation history, no ambient awareness of what the coordinator knows. Every piece of context a subagent needs must be passed explicitly in its prompt every time. Once that lands, a whole family of questions solves itself. The subagent that ignored constraints wasn't disobedient, it was never told. And in hub and spoke, all communication routes through the coordinator, subagents never talk to each other directly. Corollary for speed, a coordinator can spawn its subagents in parallel, multiple delegation calls in a single response, rather than one slow round trip at a time. Then the diagnosis questions, and they're beautiful. A finished research report is missing entire topic areas, whose failure, not the subagents, they answered what they were asked. It's the coordinator's decomposition, the topics were never assigned. Trace failures to the root. And when a subagent's tool fails mid-pipeline, Law 7 governs the answer. Propagate a structured report, what failed, what was attempted, what partial results exist, what alternatives remain, and continue with the gap annotated. Silent suppression loses information. Killing the whole pipeline over one failed fetch is the panic answer. Both are always wrong. The exam lens, your research system summaries keep omitting constraints the user stated at the start, like a date range. Options instruct subagents to pay closer attention, increase each subagent's iteration budget, have the coordinator include the user's constraints explicitly in every subagent prompt, or let subagents read the coordinator's conversation history. The first is a wish, the second is irrelevant. The fourth describes a capability that does not exist, and the exam plants that distractor precisely to catch people who never learned today's fact. Explicit context passing, every prompt, every time. And the diagnosis lens, a completed research report covers 4 of the 6 requested topics beautifully and omits 2 entirely. Options, the subagents need better search tools. The coordinator's task decomposition failed to assign those topics. the context window overflowed, or the report writer needs a longer prompt. Check the evidence like an architect. The covered topics are excellent, so the machinery works. The missing ones were simply never dispatched. Root cause, coordinator decomposition. The exam plants the tool quality and context window answers for people who blame the loudest component instead of tracing the pipeline. Trace first, then fix, and only ever the component that failed. Chapter 10, Scenario 4, Developer Productivity Tools. The setting, an Agent SDK assistant that helps engineers explore unfamiliar code bases and understand legacy systems, armed with built-in tools for searching files and reading code, plus MCP servers for the systems around the code. This costume belongs primarily to tool design, and it's where the exam's fussiest small facts live. Start with the number 1 lever, Law 3, now with specifics. A strong tool description carries 4 things: what the tool does, the input it expects, examples of queries it handles well, and explicit boundaries against similar-looking tools. When the agent keeps picking the wrong tool, the first fix is always those descriptions, not a routing classifier, not few-shot examples, not consolidation. Next, scope. An agent performs best with a handful of tools relevant to its role, roughly 4 or 5, handed 18, and selection reliability degrades. Law 8, quantified. And yes, the exam checks the fussy pair. Searching file names by pattern and searching file contents are different tools, and mixing them up is a planted wrong answer. Then the build or borrow judgment. The team wants the assistant connected to the issue tracker. Write a custom MCP server. The exam's answer, check the community first. Established MCP servers exist for common systems. Custom servers are for the workflows the community genuinely doesn't cover. And know the selection dial. Tool choice set to auto lets the model answer in plain text or call a tool. Set to any forces some tool call. Forcing a specific name compels exactly that tool. Scenario questions hand you a requirement. The model must always produce a structured call here, and watch whether you know which setting delivers it. The exam lens. The codebase assistant keeps calling the documentation search tool when engineers ask about code, and the code search tool for documentation questions. Options: add few-shot examples of correct selection, rewrite both tool descriptions with clear boundaries and example queries, merge the 2 tools into one, or put a classifier in front. Law 3, verbatim, descriptions first. The few-shot answer isn't crazy, it's just second, and on this exam, second means wrong. The merge destroys useful separation, and the classifier is the overbuild with a lanyard. Descriptions are the interface. Fix the interface. Chapter 11, Scenario 5, Claude Code in the CI pipeline. The setting, automated code review on every pull request, generated summaries, checks that run with nobody watching. Claude Code and prompt engineering wear this costume together, and its questions split into 2 families, making automation actually run and making its output actually usable. Family 1 is mercifully concrete. Claude Code in a pipeline must run non-interactively, with the print flag, the one that takes a prompt, does the work and exits. Omit it and the pipeline job hangs forever, waiting for input that will never come. The exam adores that symptom. Then the latency law, a blocking pre-merge check that a developer is sitting there waiting on, must run synchronously. The batch interface, with its within-a-day turnaround, is for the latency-tolerant work, the overnight audit, the nightly report. Route a blocking check through batch, and you've built a very economical way to make everyone furious. Family 2 is quality, and 2 laws run it. The automated reviewer flags too many false positives, and someone proposes telling it to be conservative. That's the named anti-pattern. Vague confidence language doesn't move behavior. Categorical criteria do. Flag only when the claimed behavior contradicts the actual code, with concrete examples per severity. Be explicit, always explicit. And when generated code needs checking, Law 5, the instance that wrote it doesn't review it. A separate reviewer instance, fresh context, reviewer's brief. Self-review lets the same blind spot sign off on itself. The exam lens, your pipeline's review step hangs indefinitely on every run. Options: increase the timeout, run Claude Code with the non-interactive print flag, switch the review to the batch interface, or add a retry wrapper. The timeout and the retry treat the symptom while the job still waits for input. Batch answers a question nobody asked and violates the blocking check law for good measure. The print flag is the whole answer, and knowing it is one of the cheapest points on the paper. Chapter 12, Scenario 6, Structured Data Extraction. The setting: unstructured documents in, validated structured records out, invoices, contracts, reports at volume. Prompt engineering and context management, where this one, and its core teaching, is a distinction that sounds academic and decides several questions. Syntax versus semantics. Forcing extraction through a tool call with a schema guarantees the shape of the output, fields present, types correct, parsable every time. What it cannot guarantee is the truth of the output, a wrong amount, a sum that doesn't match its parts, a value confidently fabricated for a field the document never contained. Schema kills syntax errors, semantics still need validation in code, and a retry loop for the failures. Which leads to the domain's most elegant single fact: when a document might not contain a field, make that field nullable. A required field is an order to produce something, and a model under orders will fabricate. Permission to say nothing is a data quality feature. The reliability half brings back old friends with new stakes. Inconsistent extraction across similar documents. Law 4, 2 or 3 concrete worked examples, especially of the ambiguous calls, beat another page of instructions. Long documents where key details get missed. The lost in the middle effect is real. Models attend best to the beginning and end of long inputs, so put the critical instructions and any summary up front, never buried in the middle of the stack. And at pipeline scale, the batch interface returns for its correct use. Thousands of documents, nobody waiting, roughly half the cost. This scenario is where the whole series evaluation instinct becomes architecture. Validate everything, trust nothing by default, and design for the document that breaks your assumptions. The exam lens: your invoice extractor fills the purchase order field with plausible-looking values even when invoices have none. Options: add an instruction saying never fabricate, make the field nullable and validate against the source, lower the temperature, or switch to a bigger model. The instruction is a wish with a failure rate. Temperature makes fabrication consistent, which is worse. The bigger model fabricates more fluently. Nullable plus validation changes the rules of the game instead of pleading within them. 6 scenarios, and if you notice the same handful of laws deciding every single lens, that was the entire point. Chapter 13, The 5 Most Missed Facts, a rapid-fire insurance policy, because scenario exams still hinge on a few hard facts, and these are the ones that reliably separate scores. Fact 1, subagents inherit nothing. No memory, no history, context is passed explicitly or it does not exist. Fact 2, the agentic loop ends when the stop reason says so. The model's response carries a machine-readable reason, and reading it is the answer. Parsing the model's prose for doneness, or leaning on an iteration cap as the primary mechanism, are both planted wrong answers. The cap is a safety net, never the steering wheel. Fact 3, schemas guarantee shape, not truth. Syntax, not semantics, and nullable fields are the anti-fabrication device. Fact 4, prompt instructions are suggestions with a failure rate. Hooks and code-level gates are guarantees, and anything involving money, deletion, or compliance gets the guarantee. In fact 5, progressive summarization corrupts transactional data, amounts, dates, identifiers, so specifics live in a verbatim facts block that summarization never touches. 5 facts, maybe 10 questions across your 4 scenarios, cheapest points you'll ever collect. And a bonus 6th because it straddles 2 scenarios, the lost in the middle effect. Long inputs are attended best at their beginning and end, so critical instructions and summaries go up front, never buried mid-stack. It decides questions in both the extraction and research scenarios, and it's the kind of fact that quietly improves every long prompt you'll ever write, exam or not. Chapter 14, your free study stack, and by now you can recite the philosophy. The fee is the only mandatory cost, 4 pieces. The official exam guide, which for this exam is uniquely valuable because it publishes the 6 scenarios themselves. You are literally handed the setting of every question in advance, so read it twice and rehearse against it. The official documentation for the 3 pillars, the Agent SDK, Claude Code, and MCP, read with the scenario list open beside it. Anthropic's published engineering guidance on building effective agents, which is where the orchestration judgment in the heavyweight domain actually comes from. And a working build of your own, because this exam's questions are memories for people who have built, and trivia for people who haven't. Long free video courses exist for this exam too, some excellent and very thorough. Use them if marathon format suits you, but none of them replaces an afternoon of your own subagents failing to share context in front of your eyes. Chapter 15, the 3-week scenario plan, 5 to 6 focused hours a week, and the organizing idea follows the exam's own structure. You'll rehearse the 6 scenarios by building miniature versions of 3 of them, which between them touch all 5 domains. If the Agent SDK is new to you, stretch the same plan to 5 weeks, the sequence is the point, and keep one meta rule across all 3 weeks. Every build session ends by writing down in 1 sentence each which law you watched operate. The exam tests recognition, and recognition is built by naming. Week 1, Foundations and the Support Agent. Read the exam guide end to end, including all 6 scenario descriptions, and rate yourself per domain. Then build the miniature, an Agent SDK support bot with 3 tools, a lookup, an action, and escalation, a hook that enforces lookup before action, and a persistent facts block. Deliberately break it, let it summarize away an order number, watch a refund fire without verification, then fix both. That's the 27% domain, Law 2, and context management running on your machine. Week 2, the coordinator and the configuration. Build a toy research coordinator with 2 subagents and feel the most missed fact firsthand. Watch a subagent fail for lack of context, then fix it with explicit passing and spawn the pair in parallel. Then spend a session configuring Claude Code properly on a real repository. Project-level memory file in Git, 1 path-scoped rule, 1 /command, 1 plan mode task, and 1 non-interactive run with the print flag, the entire 20% domain in an afternoon. Week 3, Extraction and Rehearsal. Build the 3rd miniature, schema-forced extraction over a handful of messy documents with a nullable field, code-level validation, and a retry loop. Hunt 1 fabrication and kill it with the nullable pattern. Then rehearse like it's theater. For each of the 6 scenarios, write from memory the pressure points and which laws govern them, and drill whatever practice questions you have in scenario-sized blocks of 15, 30 minutes each, building the exam day rhythm. Weakest domain gets the final hours, the booking happens while the builds are fresh. Chapter 16, Exam Day and the Scenario Rhythm. Logistics are the series standard, so in brief, system check the day before on the real machine. Quiet room, clear desk, identification, workspace photos, no notes. Fragile setup at home means book a test center. What's new is the pacing, because this paper has natural chapters, 4 scenarios, roughly 15 questions each, 120 minutes. That's 30 minutes a scenario, and the smart rhythm is to spend the first minute of each block actually reading the scenario narrative, because those 15 questions all lean on it, then work the block, flag the doubtful, and glance at the clock only at block boundaries. Inside the questions, run the machinery this series built. 1 correct answer, 3 distractors, and you know the species, the extremist, the symptom treater, the true but irrelevant, the overbuild. Now add the laws as a positive filter. Which option is simplest and sufficient, which one enforces in code, which one fixes descriptions, which one passes context explicitly. When 2 options survive, the tiebreaker on this paper is almost always a law. And the arithmetic gift, no penalty for guessing, means the review screen ends with 0 blanks, always. An educated guess among 4 options is free expected points. One more habit specific to scenario blocks: answers within a block should agree with each other. If question 4 established that subagents share nothing, question 11's answer cannot quietly assume they do. The narrative is one consistent world, let your answers live in it. Afterwards, the standard outcomes. Pass and the Cridley badge lands, the 12-month clock starts, and the free on-time renewal goes straight into the calendar. Not this time, and the per-domain report plus a 14-day window turns it into a scheduled second act, with your weakest domain now named in writing. 4 attempts a rolling year, a delay, never a verdict. And with this paper behind you, you're standing on the last step before the top of the program. That's the complete architecture, The exam that tells stories, the 5 domains and their weights, the 8 laws, all 6 scenarios as blueprints, the most missed facts, the build plan, and the room itself. Everything here is drawn from the official exam guide and public documentation, independently made, not affiliated with Anthropic, and honest as always. No video guarantees a pass, but master these 6 scenarios and the laws beneath them, and you will walk in over-prepared by design. The dated study checklist is in the description, free. Next in the series, the Summit, Architect Professional, the capstone exam, where the questions add governance, stakeholders, and the full life cycle, the exam for the person who owns the whole system and the conversation about it. 1 video left to complete the program. If this guide moved you closer to certified, a like helps the next architect find it, and subscribing means the finale lands in your feed the moment it's ready. We're building AI up from the ground, 1 blueprint at a time. I'll see you in the next one.